Back again here at lcsportsnet.com, your Lawrence County SportsNet podcast series. It's the Week 8 recap here on lcsportsnet.com. I'm James Dotson, glad to be again with you, recapping the previous week's games. As always, your podcast previews and recaps delivered by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Give them a call for delivery of your bottled water, whether it be the 3 or 5 gallon jugs or individual 16-ounce bottles. Let them do the heavy lifting and deliver refreshing bottled water straight to your home or work. Talk about going to work. It was a slow day at the office for Wilmington up in District 10, but the explosive second half keeps the Hounds' playoff hopes alive in a 55-20 victory at home over Slippery Rock. They were actually trailing at the half, was Wilmington, 20-13. 42 unanswered points, so in the second half for that 55-20 victory. Now 4-4 overall are the Hounds, 2-4 in the region, but the key part, getting the wins against 2A opponents, likely should secure a playoff berth for Wilmington with one regular season game remaining. And Ben Miller, man, did he go off. 19 carries, 309 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Oh, he also caught the only pass attempt of the game for Wilmington for a 40-yard touchdown as well. Over 400 yards of total yards, including kick returns as well. So a career day for sure for Ben Miller, who's now actually in the top 10 rushing all-time in Wilmington history. Ty Mikulin, number 2, I'll call him a 1B really. He also went over 100 yards on the ground, a pair of touchdowns. How about the senior captain Rocky Serafino getting a sack on defense, and he even got a lineman carry on senior night. So all 4 senior captains getting the job done. Quarterback Buda Book ran well, directed the offense, and again threw a touchdown as well. 515 total yards of offense for the Hounds in the game, finally at full strength, and well, it's the right time to do it here in the stretch run. The other game we had coverage on Friday night, a great battle down at Geneva College at Reeves Stadium. Elwood City against Beaver Falls. The Wolverines able to hang tight with Beaver Falls throughout the night. The Tigers' run game just ended up being too much down the stretch. 42-28 the victory for Beaver Falls. Bricks Rawl gets the start, his first start of the year at running back. He'd been the number 2 back, working within the offense, fullback at times, all throughout the year. He gets the start with both the quarterback and running back, the normal starters for Beaver Falls, not playing in the game. And man, Bricks Rawl, man, he had a career day. 239 rushing yards on 31 carries and a trio of touchdowns to lead the way for Beaver Falls. Chris Smiley led Elwood's offense with 227 yards. He had a pair of touchdowns as well. Elijah Palmer McCain, he struggled to get going in terms of the yardage on the ground. Just 35 yards on the ground, but he also had 40 receiving yards, 3 total touchdowns on the evening for Elijah Palmer McCain. And we'll give a shout out to Caden Daccio, because he just had a fantastic game, especially in the special teams. Many special teams open field tackles against a talented Beaver Falls squad, who now has the inside track as Beaver Falls to the playoffs. They're in 4th place, 3-2 conference record. Elwood City at 2-3. They need one more win to clinch that 5th and final spot for the playoffs coming out of the MAC conference. Well, that's 2 games down. We got 6 to go. We'll recap them in a moment when we return. The Week 8 recap show here at lcsportsnet.com, delivered by Penn Ohio Bottled Water.
Don't get left out to dry. Call the Penn Ohio Bottled Water Company for the fastest and most efficient bottled water delivery service in the area. Penn Ohio offers bottled water ranging from 16.9-ounce bottles to 5-gallon jugs, perfect for your next event or office water cooler system. Also, don't forget to ask about their custom labeling options. Visit PennOhioBottledWater.com for more information and to get a quote on their delivery services. Whether it's at home, in the office, or on the sidelines, Penn Ohio has you covered.
Continuing to recap the Week 8 games, just 2 more games in the season, in the regular season that is, after this slate of contests. Neshannock, man, they just love playing Riverside, don't they? It's always been a big rivalry on the baseball diamond, and lately on the gridiron, it's just been high-scoring affairs. How about a 64-20 win for Neshannock at Riverside? And here's the crazy stat. 2 of the top 3 scoring outputs in Neshannock football history now have come at the expense of Riverside. The 71-point total they put up, I think it was 71-40, I think was the final back at Bob Bludgy Stadium 2014, and then in 2015 they had another 71-point game in the playoffs against North Catholic. But 64, that's the third most points all-time scored by a Neshannock Lancer football team. 6 touchdowns combined in the first quarter between Neshannock and Riverside. Anthony Aiken, he ended up with 3 touchdown runs. Pat Ardro had a 1-yard run. Brandon Montgomery catches a touchdown in the first quarter. Aiken, mercy rule already in effect. He takes the kickoff to start the second half, 80 yards for another touchdown. Nico Scheibel got the final score, his first career touchdown on a late kick return as well. We got to give another shout out to Anthony Bonner. He's already got an interception return for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown, a couple receiving touchdowns on the year. He picks up a fumble and takes it to the house against Riverside. Neshannock still undefeated in the conference, and now 7-1 overall. Speaking of 7-1 overall, that's what Mohawk is now, and also a perfect 5-0 in conference play as they defeated Freedom 44-20. Early on, the offense kind of struggled to get going for the Warriors, but it was the Mohawk defense again coming to play. Justin Boston, Joey Nail, each had pick sixes in the first half. It's actually the third straight game with an interception for Boston defensively. Joey Nail actually also got his first touchdown reception on the season as well. And while Bobby Fadden getting a touchdown reception, that just feels like a weekly occurrence here at this point. Gets another one there against Freedom. And just for good measure, Josh Wilkins, a 41-yard field goal as well. Freedom now at 1-4 in the conference. They need to win their final 2 games to make the postseason. Speaking of making the postseason, the Scotties have done that with a win over Northgate, 47-6. You need a couple of stalled drives early in the half. They turn it on late. They pull away for that victory. Braylon Thomas, how about this? His 4th career 200-yard rushing game. His season-high 231 rushing yards against the Northgate Flames. 3 total touchdowns on the day. Mike Gunn, how about 1 touchdown rushing and 1 passing as the Scotties now remain undefeated 5-1, or 5-0, 7-1 overall. Northgate, 1 conference game to go. They sit at 2-4. It'll be between them, Laurel, and Shenango for that final playoff spot out of the Big 7. Just talked about Laurel, a rough one down at Hookstown at Southside Beaver. The Southside Rams, so experienced there, especially on the line. They control the game start to finish, 35-7, the victory over Laurel. Southside's ball control, wing tee setup, man, they normally are, 3 yards, 4 yards in a cloud of dust. This year, and especially on Friday night, those 3, 4, 5-yard runs turn into home run bombs. Ryan Navarre, a 51-yard touchdown early. He had 3 touchdowns on the night. Quarterback Brody Almashi had a long one, 61-yard scoring dash. He had a couple of scores on the day. The Rams overall, 392 rushing yards in the contest as Vern Sipe gets the lone score for the Spartans late in the contest. Speaking of undefeated, that's what Southside is as well. They're one of just, I believe, 40 now in the entire state of Pennsylvania that are undefeated heading into the penultimate week of the regular season. Southside 5-0 in conference play, 8-0 overall. It'll be a big one next week against the Scotties. Laurel 2-6 overall. They're 1-5 in conference play, and they still have 2 games remaining against Summit Academy and Shenango. They still control their own destiny, believe it or not, for making the postseason. Shenango, just talked about them. They'll play Laurel in a couple of weeks. They get a big win on Saturday in Herman, Pennsylvania, as they defeat Summit Academy 37-8. What a day for Colton Fedrizzi. He starts the day with a safety on defense. He then catches 3 touchdown passes to lead the way for Shenango. Both Nico DeSalvo and Sam Myers threw touchdown passes in the game. Shenango also got some much-needed production in the ground game. Connor Shearer, 55 yards and a pair of touchdowns, as Shenango is now 2-4 in Big 7 conference play. They have non-conference game coming up before finishing off at home against Laurel. And that looks like it should be a win-and-you're-in scenario for both the Cats and the Spartans. Final game, back to Friday night football on homecoming for Newcastle against Aliquippa. The state-ranked and undefeated Quips, man, they wasted little time against Newcastle. 35-0 the halftime score, 55-7 your final score over the winless Canes. Turnovers again, just really hurting Newcastle at this point. 5 turnovers in the first half, a fumble and 4 interceptions. One of them was returned for a touchdown. Mason Cook scoring the only Newcastle touchdown midway through the fourth quarter. And give a shout out to, again, Malik Jefferson pacing the Canes 90 yards rushing in the contest. Newcastle still looking for their first win since week 0 a year ago. So 17 straight in the L column, unfortunately, for Nika High. Well, we just go from high to goodbye for now, as we'll get back to you soon, midway through the week. We'll talk about Week 9 preview, or Week 8 Game 9, I should say, preview show for the upcoming games. Then coming up over the weekend, we'll go back and recap those games from the penultimate week of the WPIAL season and the final official week in District 10. There is one more regular season week, though many of those games end up getting rescheduled based on playoff implications. So last guaranteed week for Wilmington this week against Grove City. 2 more weeks to go for all the WPIAL teams. We'll also be looking at the soccer playoffs coming up and the volleyball playoffs. Brackets due to be announced here in the next few days, so we'll have preview show podcasts coming up for those for previewing our county teams. That's all coming your way in the next few days, so make sure you stay tuned and stay subscribed on YouTube to get alerts every time that we got a new show coming up, and every time we get new videos for our play and player of the game. It's all here on the Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAP.